All right, football is first on the agenda for this Thursday edition of the SportsMax Zone. Let's catch up with the latest from CONCACAF World Cup qualifying. 6 matches were contested on Wednesday, with 5 more scheduled for Friday. Let's take a look. There we go. Dominica defeating the British Virgin Islands by 3 goals to 0. That coming over in Group E, where Dominica are now in 4th position on 3 points. Barbados 1-1 with Aruba. Montserrat 1-0 over Belize. Big win for Bermuda, winning by 5 goals to 0 over the Cayman Islands. St. Vincent and the Grenadines even bigger, 6-0 over Anguilla, and Grenada as well, getting a 6-0 victory over the Bahamas to join Trinidad and Tobago on 4 points in Group B in 2nd position, with Costa Rica leading that group. This is what's coming up on Friday now. Antigua and Barbuda against Cuba. Suriname versus Puerto Rico. That's a top of the table clash. Curacao versus St. Lucia. Trinidad and Tobago, important game for them against St. Kitts and Nevis. Guatemala against the Dominican Republic, and Nicaragua taking on Guyana. Now, ahead of their clash against top-of-the-table Nicaragua in Managua, followed by a home fixture against Montserrat, Guyana's Golden Jaguars know they need positive results as they push for a top 2 place to advance from Group D. Let's check in then with their interim head coach himself, a former national player, Wayne Wiggy Dova. Wayne, welcome to the SportsMax Zone. It is a pleasure to have you. How are you doing this afternoon ahead of a couple of big clashes in World Cup qualifying?
Good afternoon, and thanks for having me. I'm doing great this afternoon, very relaxed, leading into tomorrow event.
No pressure heading into these 2 games?
Well, there is always pressure when you in a football match because the results is the most important things, and we have over 800,000 people back home who are going to tune in tomorrow and be vying for us. So we have to deliver for them, the federation, and everyone who is behind us.
Yeah, talk to me about how preparations have gone coming into this fixture, specifically the Nicaragua fixture. They are top of the group, and if you can get a win tomorrow, it will be significant towards your push for a place in the 3rd and final round of CONCACAF World Cup qualifying.
Preparation has gone well. We're satisfied. The coaches, the entire staff are satisfied with the preparation that we have conducted thus far. And we think that we have what it takes to go tomorrow and get a positive result. More so a win, because we know any other thing than a win would keep us in a position of pressure. So we want to ensure that we get a good result, a good performance, so that we could progress to the next game and try to get that 3 points and come out as one of the 2 teams in this group.
Yeah, and coach, one of the things about these matchups is there's a lot of history because there's one particular player on your squad, Omari Glasgow. He would have played against Nicaragua before. He was a lot younger, and that result ended in a defeat. How much does that storyline play, and how important will Omari be if y'all are to walk away with a win?
Well, Omari is a grown man now. The moment, the period you spoke about there, that is when he was under 20. I was the under 20 coach at that time,
Yeah.
and we managed to play the good game. We've competed well with Nicaragua. We thought we weren't treated fairly, and we were on the receiving end. Since then, I spoke to Omari yesterday, and Omari is so much wanted these results so that he could have exact revenge on Nicaragua tomorrow.
Yeah, and of course, a lot more experience under his belt. What are some of the things, coach, that you would have said to the players during the camp, areas that you wanted them to target, to work on, and how satisfied are you with them going into this matchup?
Well, without giving away too much, we want to make sure we make it competitive. We fight for the victory because it wouldn't come easy. We playing away at home to them. They are going to have anything about 20 plus thousand fans in the stands rooting behind them. And we know we have to fight and fight to the end to get these results. We have to bring some quality as well because we know there's a very good team. They're very confident. They move the ball well, and they'll be very brimming and confident as they're at home. but we're going to fight and fight for the victory. We're going to play our game. We're going to try to impose ourselves as well. And we're going to try to bring the quality that we have so that we could get the results we're here for.
Yeah, and what I'm getting from you, coaches, you've done everything that you can do with regards to the physical preparation, but I'm going to ask you about the mental aspect of the game, because I've never been to Nicaragua, but what I do know, and from watching football matches, it's a hostile environment. So how are the boys doing mentally?
Well, I think they're well prepared mentally, having come from two-leg games against Guatemala recently, playing away in Guatemala City. That also can be a very hostile environment. So we started to get very used to the hostility of these Central American nations. We played away in Panama, which was a very hostile environment too. So we become accustomed to that now. So I don't think that would be a factor to us in the game. We're going to go and fight to get these results.
Coach, you have a couple of players in your squad that we are quite familiar with, of course. The Manning Cup MVP and the Waterhouse centre-back, Kavis Paul, of course, Manning Cup being contested in Jamaica. He's someone I think who's really special. How has he taken on to his role in the national setup under your leadership?
Well, he came here high and confident, and he started to work very well, and he's competing for a spot. There are some senior guys in the team who's helping to guide these youngsters who came in. But at the end of the day, they all know that they have to compete and try to dethrone these players through consistency, through adapting to the playing style, through knowing that they are here to fight for a spot and not be given a spot. So they are competing well, and I'm enjoying to see these lads are here and are doing very excellent in terms of trying to cut into the squad.
Is there any concern about playing on the artificial surface there?
No, because even back home in Guyana, we do train a lot and play our league games on artificial surface, and we do make a camp away from home, and we've been training on artificial surface since we arrived. Sorry, and we know that they have an artificial turf in Managua there, and we're gonna go and try and make sure we adapt to whatever their surface is and play and try to come away with these results.
Coach, do you want the job full time?
Excuse me?
Do you want the job full time?
Oh, I would love to have the job full time. I know these two games would be a very, very, very important to make the biggest statement of my coaching career. And I hope that I can get these results so to boost my chance to get this job full time. I do, aspiring to become the senior national coach of Guyana full time.
Yeah, Coach, and you are in the final four based on reports to get that job on the short list. So I guess this must feel like somewhat of an audition then, yeah?
Oh, yes. Given the fact that the GFF has announced that they had received over 198 applicants for the job, and being narrowed down in the final four is already a victory for me. So I just have to cross the line now by ensuring that I get the call for the substantive position.
Well, there you go. Well, all the best with that. All the best with the game against Nicaragua, and all the best with the remainder of the World Cup qualifying matches. Hopefully, we'll be seeing Guyana in the third and final round of this competition. Take care, Coach.
Thanks a lot. And I do hope when we achieve these results, I'll be back here to, explain what was the magic in achieving those results.
Yes, we're ready.
I hope so too, Coach. I really do hope so.
All right, man. It's a pleasure.
Pleasure is all ours. All right, let's take our football discussion across the waters then and into Europe in what many dubbed the battle for the Ballon d'Or. Spain held off France to win 5-4 in the second semi-final of the UEFA Nations League. 2 goals from Lamine Yamal plus strikes from Nico Williams, Mikel Merino and Pedri propelled Spain to the win. In fact, the reigning European champions were 4-0 up before France responded with a Kylian Mbappe penalty. They continued to fight back with Ryan Cherki, Randall Kolo Muani and an own goal, bringing them close. But ultimately, it wasn't enough. What a game I almost said Lance and Mariah. Donald and
It's
Mariah,
okay.
what a game. And it seemed as if Spain had it all won. In fact, while the game was going on, I had written the lower third to say Spain thrash France. Ultimately had to change that because France mounted quite a comeback. And I see some outlets already calling it a classic.
Yeah, I'd call it a classic as well.
Yeah.
But I don't think the defenses came to the party, obviously. And I'm in the beginning, I was kind of leaning to Spain being one of the better teams in world football. I'm not sure if I can say that right now because I think they're pretty vulnerable at the back.
Did they become complacent?
Yeah, a little
I
bit of
think
that.
so.
I mean, what, they were leading 4-0 and 5-1 at
the
one
first
stage.
half.
So
Yes.
it really was them being a little bit complacent and their foot was off the gas. But I think they play like school kids. And, you know, there's something endearing about them playing like and expressing themselves on the field like that. But it was just brilliant football to watch, really. And Yamal, I mean, what more can we say about him and what he has to offer to the Ballon d'Or discussion? If he wins this UEFA Nations League title for Spain, well, I think he has to get it.
I want to think that it is already a foregone conclusion. Lamine Yamal has done really well in La Liga for Barcelona. Now we see him taking a lot of responsibility for his country. And you said school kids, and I smiled, Donald, because it is a bunch of youngsters playing for Spain. You think about Pedri from Barcelona as well. Pretty young, you know, getting the job done. I will also add that I was shocked with the final result because I watched the first half and I was like, okay, Spain got this in the bag.
Comfortable.
Yeah, it looks good. Went into makeup to get ready for the show and came back out. And I'm like, where did France get these 4 goals from? Which could only mean that they became complacent, one, or maybe even tired, as to go back to your school kids thing. But then I would think, no, Lamine doesn't act like that in Barcelona. He can play on and on and on. So many different storylines. But I think we're going to have to wait and see how they progress throughout the competition.
Yeah.
Is there a difference between being the best player in the world at the moment and being most deserving of the Ballon d'Or?
Yeah, I think so.
The thing about the Ballon d'Or, though, where Messi is concerned, that has always been tricky, right?
No, because Messi has always been consistent. I think that's the point that Ricardo was making in terms of how do you distinguish someone who is on form at the time of the Ballon d'Or as opposed to their body of work for the year.
Yeah, but
And that's
this
the thing.
child,
It's
we
not
can't
just that,
judge him
though.
like that, though.
It's
what?
not just being on form, because here's the thing for me. You can demonstrate by your individual performances that you are the best player in the world.
Right.
Yeah? But you don't have all the titles that others might have. So you might demonstrate that you are the best player in the world, and in the case of Barcelona, they have won La Liga, but they haven't won the Champions League. Spain is in the final of the Nations League, but there's no guarantee that they'll go on to win it. Let's say, for the purposes of this discussion, that they don't win it. And he only ends up with the La Liga title. Doesn't take away from the fact that, as far as I'm concerned, he is the best player in the world right now.
Right.
But does that automatically mean that he is most deserving of the Ballon d'Or? Or are there other considerations in determining the winner of the Ballon d'Or?
One of the things about the Ballon d'Or is I've always wondered what sort of rubric they use, right? And this always went when it came back to Messi because, okay, we are comparing Messi and Lamine Yamal is like chalk and cheese because you all use the word body of work, and that kind of, I sit back because I'm like, body of work, this is a 17-year-old, there is no body of work.
No, body of work
For
in
the
the
year.
year.
In the year.
Right.
the year
but,
under review.
But whenever Messi name came up for the Ballon d'Or, and I'm a true Messi supporter, so I always supported it, even when I felt like he didn't deserve it. I was happy for him, right? But what I'm saying is, will Lamine be treated in that same way? Because there were many times Messi won the Ballon d'Or, and he probably only walked away with one title that year. Let's just say a La Liga
But was
title.
deemed to be the best player in the world, and that's exactly what I'm getting
So that's
at.
why I'm saying I think it qualifies Lamine, but my biggest fear is that he hasn't garner that sort of respect and support just yet. Like a Lionel Messi, he's still a baby. So,
and that's the
If
thing
not
about
him, then who?
that's the thing about I don't know. If
no, but you don't
That's the
want him
thing.
to get it. So if not
no,
him,
no,
then who?
No,
You said
who's-
no to Lamine.
I'm just playing devil's advocate. That's
Okay,
what I
well,
usually
bring
do.
a player to support your devil's
Be-
advocacy.
because to be honest, I'm not a huge fan of Dembele. That's the thing, right? He's finally come into form.
But you have to be a huge fan of what he's produced
This
this
year.
season in leading his team to a historic title.
I get your point. I really get your
I
point.
wasn't making a point, I was stating a fact.
I get your
think.
fact. I really get your fact. But and yeah, he had several opportunities.
You just don't think Dembele is sexy enough.
wait.
And
What?
this comes, no, and team,
As a football,
this comes down to my point. Does it go to the most likable player, like who the
Thank you,
people
Mariah.
like? You
Okay.
need to work on your words, man.
yeah. For a journalist, that's really poor.
You know what? It's time to get out of
Is
this.
it?
No, but
segment.
is he the most likable player? Anything?
Yamal?
Yeah.
Yes,
Right now,
I
yes.
think he is.
Right, so that's why he gets it over. And that's how Messi got it too.
Yeah, but doesn't Dembele lift fans out of their seats though? Get fans out of their seats. I mean, that's also a prerequisite at times because Rodri won it, but whatever. But yeah, isn't that a prerequisite? So what? Isn't that a prerequisite as well?
Yeah, I think part of the issue with the Ballon d'Or is that we really don't know.
And we'll never know, just to add that part.
Because who knows? By next year, you'll be on the voting panel. And then Warner Brown will be winning the Ballon d'Or.
Well, it's a proper show.
I think we need to go on.
And yes, there are journalists on the panel deciding the winner of the Ballon d'Or. All right? Yeah, that's where we'll leave it for this segment. By the way, World Cup qualifying is on our SportsMax channels, not from Europe though, and not even from CONCACAF, but from South America at 6 p.m., 7 ECT. Paraguay will face Uruguay, followed by Chile against reigning world champions Argentina. Both matches can be viewed on SportsMax 2. And if you go on the app, you can check it out on SportsMax Plus as well. And if you have Digiplay cable, they're all on there. So you have so many options to watch CONMEBOL World Cup qualifying action later on. We'll be back shortly.